The blaring sirens were the first sign that this wasn't going to be a normal Tuesday. I just wanted to get my grandfather's antique mahogany desk and his leather-bound books into my new house, a place I had spent 6 months saving for, only for it to feel like a crime scene. "Sir, step away from the furniture," a stern voice commanded, cutting through the humid air. I turned, my hand still on the heavy, carved leg of the desk, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. Was I in a nightmare? How could a simple move, a moment of hope, have devolved into this? It all started with Ms. Eleanor Vance, the HOA president, a woman whose perfectly coiffed hair and pursed lips seemed to radiate disapproval. She had been watching me from her window since I pulled up, a hawk surveying its prey. As soon as my friends and I began carefully unloading the heirloom pieces, her door flew open. "You can't do that here. That furniture is a clear violation of our aesthetic guidelines," she shrieked, her voice a sharp, grating sound that made me wince. I tried to explain that I was simply moving my belongings in, that they would be inside within the hour. But her words came faster, more furious. "I've seen this sort of thing before. You know, people leaving junk on the curb, attracting riffraff. I'm calling the police. This is a public nuisance." I laughed, a bitter, disbelieving bark of a laugh. It was my furniture, my family's history, not junk. And yet, here we were, 2 police cruisers, lights flashing, a growing crowd of curious neighbors, and Eleanor standing there, a triumphant smirk on her face as if she'd just won the lottery. An officer, a tall man with a tired face, walked over. "What seems to be the problem here?" he asked, glancing from the pile of furniture to Eleanor. She stepped forward, puffing her chest out. "Officer, I'm the president of the Homeowners Association. This man, a new resident, is dumping large items on common property. Furthermore," she added, her eyes narrowing in a moment of pure, unadulterated malice, "I believe this furniture is part of a bulk trash pickup that was scheduled for today. It belongs to the association now, for proper disposal." My jaw went slack. The sound of a collective gasp rippled through the small gathering. She was claiming it was hers. My grandfather's desk, the one he built with his own 2 hands, the chair where he read to me as a child. A furious heat rose in my chest, a fire of disbelief and rage. "That's not true. This is all mine. It's personal property. My grandfather's," I yelled, my voice cracking with emotion. The officer, sensing the escalating tension, held up a hand. "Let's all just take a deep breath." This was a classic HOA Karen move, escalating a minor issue into a full-blown crisis. But her claim of ownership was beyond the pale. She was banking on the fact that I was new, a nobody, and that her word as HOA president carried more weight. But she didn't know me. She didn't know that every piece of this furniture held a story, a memory, and a secret. Just then, a frail, elderly woman, her hair a silver cloud, pushed her way through the onlookers. She was Mrs. Gable, my grandfather's best friend and neighbor for 50 years, who still lived down the street. Her voice, though soft, carried a weight of authority. "Eleanor, what is the meaning of this? That's George's desk, and his old recliner. I saw him build that desk myself, years ago. I even helped him stain it." Eleanor's confident facade wavered for a split second, a crack in her armor. She quickly recovered. "Mrs. Gable, you're an old woman. You're confused. This is a matter for the authorities, not for you." The officer's eyebrow raised. He was no longer just a tired man. He was a detective now, sensing a deeper story. He asked for proof of ownership. I didn't have receipts for a 60-year-old desk, but I had something better. "The desk," I said, my voice trembling with a renewed sense of purpose. "The desk has a secret compartment, a small, hidden drawer in the back. My grandfather used to hide his journal in there." I described its location and the specific latch mechanism. The officer, intrigued, approached the desk. Eleanor, sensing her power fading, tried to intervene. "This is preposterous. It's an urban legend. You can't just dismantle HOA property. The officer ignored her, carefully running his hand along the back of the old wood. He found it, the tiny latch, and with a soft click, a small panel slid open. Inside was a worn leather journal. He pulled it out, and the first page was a dedication, dated 1965, to my grandson, who I hope will one day fill this desk with his own stories. Your loving Grandpa, George. The crowd gasped again, this time a sound of wonder. Tears welled in my eyes. The final act was pure, theatrical justice. Eleanor, caught in her own web of lies, began to stammer, to backtrack. She insisted she was just following procedures. But the truth was out. Mrs. Gable, with the support of other neighbors who had now found their voices, backed up my story. They knew my grandfather. They knew his furniture. The officer, after a long, meaningful sigh, looked at Eleanor. Ms. Vance, not only is this not a public nuisance, but your false claim of ownership constitutes a formal complaint. We'll be filing a report, and I highly suggest you cooperate with our investigation. The triumphant smirk was gone, replaced by a look of sheer terror. She was no longer the queen of the cul-de-sac, but a petty thief caught red-handed. She stumbled back, her perfect facade crumbling around her, her voice a pathetic whisper. The crowd parted, allowing her to retreat into her house, the heavy door slamming behind her like a final verdict. I was left standing there, with my furniture, my friends, and a street full of neighbors who now saw me not as riffraff, but as the rightful heir to a legacy. My new home no longer felt like a crime scene, but like a sanctuary. It was a beautiful, chaotic, and messy beginning. It made me wonder, though, how many of these little tyrants exist, and how often they get away with it. When does a desire for order cross the line into outright theft and malice? And what does it say about us when we stand by and watch it happen? I know this is a messy situation, and I'm not a perfect person, but I stand by my decision to fight back. Did I handle it the right way? What would you have done? Was Eleanor truly a monster, or just a product of a broken system?